Oh, I got the NSA, my NSA proof thing here. Let me remove the, there we go. All right, welcome guys. It's 6:06 in beautiful Bali. We're here at the Ubud co-working space, and it's 6 o'clock on a Tuesday night. It's time for Bitcoin Filter. Glad you could be with us. We've got a great show. Lots of stuff on tap. We're going to go over the price. Spoiler alert, it's up 12%. In fact, we'll see if it's up over 370 when we finally do take a look at it, but it's very exciting. Yeah? Oh! Anyway, everybody cross your fingers now. We're going to talk about all of the posts that we've seen in the last week on the Bitcoins in Bali Facebook group. That's how things work around here. We have an ongoing conversation about Bitcoin, and all of the people that participate week to week post the most interesting stories in the Bitcoin in Bali group, and then we get together in person and talk about it. So that's the way it works. We've got a great show on tap, so let's go ahead and kick things off. I just need to share my screen here. This way people don't get to look at me, they get to look at the screen. It's much more enjoyable that way for everybody. This is the Bitcoins in Bali group. And this is where we post all of our stories and basically, oh, there's Willie on Gilly. We post our stories here and then we get together and talk about them. First though, let's talk about local announcements. On the 13th of December, we're going to have the Bitcoin Film Festival right here in Ubud, the International Bit Film Festival, December 13th. I'm happy to announce that we're going to have it at the Paradiso Theater, which is the largest theater in all of Ubud. Still only about, the owner said we could jam in 200 people. So I fully expect to have 200 people at Paradiso on December 13th for the Bitcoin Film Festival. All kinds of interest around this. Even the Bitcoin ambassador claims he's going to bring 600 people. So I guess we can set up a closed circuit television for all of his fans. We'll see what happens. But mark your calendars, December 13th, Bitcoin Film Festival. Don't miss it. We've got the Bitcoin 101. We just had a Bitcoin 101 this past Saturday. A new flock of Bitcoiners now have Bitcoins to go spend out in the Bitcoin economy. Of course, here in Ubud, it's a great place to have Bitcoins. You can get a taxi or go to a restaurant or I don't know, what else? Go kiteboarding. Yes. So anyway, we do that every month. Next month, though, it's on the first Saturday of the month because what's on the second Saturday? The Bitcoin Film Festival. So the 6th of December, if you go to bitcoinsinbali.org/Bitcoin101, you need to register so we can prepare for your visit. But anyway, December 6th, Saturday, December 6th is the next Bitcoin 101. Check it out. We've also got the Bali Bitcoin Binge, where we're taking over the house out behind Ubud. Have you guys seen this house? It's a crazy mansion like the bachelor pad. There's a pool and cooks and cleaners. And for just between 1 and 2 Bitcoins, there's different setups. You can live in that house for 2 weeks. It's a bit of a startup kind of incubator kind of thing. 12 spots for Bitcoin enthusiasts to bring their projects and live and work together for a couple weeks. So by Christmas time, we should have some crazy new Bitcoin applications to get the economy rolling here in Bali. That's December 5th through the 19th at balibitcoinbinge.com. And that's all the local announcements. Let's get into the price. $368. I was kind of hoping that it would go over 370. That's about a 12% jump week over week. That's good news. I have no idea why it jumped like it did, but I'm happy it did. Any theories on why the price has come up? Change tip. Yes.
It's all on YouTube and Yeah. Well, you should do that.
Yes, indeed. That's a good theory. There's the tipping phenomenon has taken over Reddit and some other sites, I believe. Incidentally, the change tip folks, there's a rumor, the change tip folks will be here in Bali first part of December. So stick around. Those guys are celebrities these days. And that's a good theory that, that maybe the tipping, basically for those of you who are not aware, in Twitter, you can actually tip people in Bitcoin. You can put a little string of text in your tweet. And I think ChangeTip has a robot that goes through all of the tweets on a regular basis, and they maintain a balance of Bitcoin on your behalf, and they can tip on your behalf if the person has an account. Yeah. Actually, even if they don't have an account.
I think there's a few other apps you can use.
Yes. I have not received any Bitcoin tips yet, but it seems like a good idea. Anyway.
How do we tip you?
Hmm?
How do we tip you?
Well, with the ChangeTip system, you in Twitter, you just put the handle, and then you, I don't know. It's a convention that you use in text form inside of a tweet, and their robot goes through all the tweets, and when they find one, they pay it out. It's pretty slick. Maybe we'll go through ChangeTip, the whole thing next week. I think that's a good idea.
Silk Road bus. All of the bus. Maybe people lost a lot of Bitcoin. How to read that?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes, good theory as well. Although the last time the feds got involved, the price went down because they dumped all the coins.
Like 2 days.
Yeah.
And then it went on its historic,
Yeah.
rise.
Yeah.
So we're just hoping for a repeat.
Any other theories why the price is up?
Russians.
The Russians banning, the Ukraine banning Bitcoin. That's
Well, no, what was it?
Oh, they
Shifting
reduced.
money out of rubles or whatever. Like Peter posted something.
Yeah, well, I guess the thing I heard was that they reduced the sentences for using Bitcoin, right? It's not as bad. It's not as illegal. Maybe they have some friends that are moving a lot of Bitcoin these days, and they didn't want to see them spend too much time in the clink. I was really hoping it would go over 370, but no such luck. Anyway, I don't know why, but I'm happy it did rise 12% week over week. Good stuff. That means that the current Indonesian price is up over 4.4 million rupiah for one Bitcoin. So if you have one Bitcoin, you're a millionaire in rupiah currency. This is at the bitcoin.co.id, the largest exchange in Indonesia. Interestingly enough, this is a new development. Bitcoin.co.id is now trading in Litecoin and Dogecoin. That's a new development.
0 fees.
And 0 fees for those trades. So I've been meaning to get my hands on some Doge. So maybe this is my chance. Hey, Manu.
Hey, man.
Yeah. All right. What else have we got? Here's a little comparison of the Bitcoins in Indonesia are just about 1% below the global average. Right, so this is a little Bitcoin arbitrage opportunity in Indonesia. Right now, you can buy Bitcoins, let's see, at about 365 and sell them at local Bitcoins for 407. So 10% arbitrage opportunity, get on it, only in Indonesia. Bitcoins are on sale. Let's take a look at the market cap for Bitcoin. We're back up over $5 billion.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Oh, yeah. It's still at 100.
Over $5 billion. All the Bitcoins in existence are worth just over $5 billion, which might sound like a lot, but I think that represents like a single fine at Goldman Sachs for the quarter. I think that's what they. So it's not very much money. In fact, when you think about just how little money that is, it's really exciting because if Bitcoin were to really take off, there's a finite number of Bitcoins. It could be, there's a lot of upside potential.
20 trillion.
Yeah, 20 trillion, is that the, yeah, per coin? That's cool. I'll settle for half that in cash. All right, we also track this BMIX score. This is the rank of Bitcoin amongst the other 190 currencies around the world. So there are Bitcoin is right, I can't see, between Yemen and the Dominican Republic. We're tucked in there at a score of 100. We've been as low as 89th. So at one point in time, there were 100 currencies that had a market capitalization less than Bitcoin. So kind of interesting.
Oh, it's roughly like 5.
Okay, what else? Oh, check this out. 1yearbitcoin.info. You can see year over year if you've made money on Bitcoin or not, right? So everybody talks about Bitcoin. Is it a store of value? Is it not? Well, if you bought Bitcoins 1 year ago, you're up 7%. That's a pretty good return. I think that's what Bernie Madoff made on a regular basis. And this is totally legit. The only thing is we're heading into a period where we may not see that year over year gain. Let's see here.
Next week will be tough.
Here is the, yes, we are right. Let me scroll this down a little bit. We are right in here somewhere. And you can see, okay, there we go. So right around, we went from, let's see, around November 5th, around November 12th, we're at 350, but you can see this, the angle of this curve is immense. This is when we had the US Senate hearings on Bitcoin, and the price went through the roof when the legislators said there's no new legislation necessary at this time. And I remember sitting and watching the Senate hearings with my popcorn, watching the ticker just go through the roof. Like it's very exciting. It was like my Super Bowl Sunday. That was a very fun day. But so I'm hoping against hope that we have another, some sort of event that makes it so I'm not losing money year over year. If any of you guys can make those arrangements, I'd appreciate it. Do what you can. I think it's all dependent on the Bitcoin economy here in Ubud. So get out there and spend your Bitcoins. Go to Clear Cafe after this, or Delicious Onion. All right, we shall see. Next week we will know if we're up year over year. It might not be pretty. Well, let's see. Okay, so guys, we're just about to do the number of the week. I'm going to hand it over to Will, but this is the last week that we have Will with us here. He's done a great job doing the number of the week for the last, I don't know, 5 months? Maybe a little bit less than that. Anyway, it's been fun. So enjoy. We got one more Bitcoin number of the week. Take it away, Will.
Thanks, Gary. 4.48 is this week's number of the week. Any ideas on what that is for this week?
4.48.
My mental age, eh? It's my mental age. Okay, 4.48 is, I was trying to work out how old is Bitcoin. What is it? It was like 31st October 2008, before the financial crisis, was when the white paper was published. Software was released 9th of January 2009. But that's sort of like prototyping a new system. Like if you're going to release technology like a DVD, you kind of build prototypes, but there's got to be an event when you're actually launching to the public. And I'm sort of thinking in May 22nd, 2010 was the first purchase of a pizza for 10,000 Bitcoin. So if you can think of that as the launch, the first date that a real transaction was made, well, 4.48 years on from that date. And there's not much in the way of numbers this one. I thought, I was a bit rushed getting back on the boat, and I thought I'd just put some pretty graphs up and we could talk about it. So what I was really quite interested in is sort of the adoption rate of new technologies. So found this article here. Getting bigger. Let's go back to the old one. And it sort of shows, 46 years before, this is 1/4 of American households using this technology. So it took 46 years from 1873 to get 1/4 of households to use electricity. 35 years for telephone, radio 31, television 26, PC 16, mobile phones 13, the web 7. So there's kind of this downward trend that you know, technology adoption is speeding up. And so, yeah, there's that. I don't know what the guy heads. Oh, again, there we go.
And then what's the estimation for a quarter of America?
Quarter of what?
Quarter of American public in Bitcoin.
I don't know, 3 months, I reckon, eh? This is kind of, if you're ever in the startup world or marketing, product development, you kind of look at these kind of graphs where you divide the whole market into segments. There's a normal curve, sort of like a normal curve. And you have the innovators, early adopters at 13% of market share. At that point, you get this sort of hockey stick that goes up and up and up as the majority sort of come in. So the early mainstream come in here, the late mainstream sort of come in along here, and then the laggards. So you do get this curve that's like an S, and I don't know. So like my experience in the startup world was like, oh, we got to get to 13.5% of market share. Because you get to that, then you can hockey stick. We're not even close to that in Bitcoin. I don't think anyone's done some decent numbers on that sort of adoption. All we know is transactions, and we think there might be, was it Bitcoin, no, blockchain, the blockchain.info wallet. I think it's 2.5 million people use that wallet, and that's the most popular by far. So you think about 2.5 million, you don't know how many are active over, say, 7 billion people. It's not a lot. But here's an interesting graph. These are those adoption curves for all these technologies. And so you kind of, you know, in a perfect world, be an SPN. But there again, this is like the date the car was launched. This is kind of going from 10% of the population to 90%, ignoring that really early adoption and the real late sort of laggards to get to 100%. And so you can kind of see that car sort of took, wow, most of the 20th century to get to 90% adoption from 10%. And right around here, you get more of the latest tech, you know, the post-industrial kind of technologies, PC. We're not at 90% yet in America.
Smartphone.
Yeah, smartphone is incredibly fast. It's, I think, 8 years, but remember that is from 10%. Getting to 10% takes a decent amount of time. If you look at that, that's like birth of the iPhone. So it's a really good comment, man. It's like someone comes along or some company comes along and figures out this is the experience and everybody can use it. And that happened with the smartphone. Like I was involved in the smartphone industry back in 2001, and we were dicking around with styluses and clunky software. And it was like 6 years before we got to something like the smartphone, and then suddenly 8 years, bang, there. Smartphone was invented in 1994. So it took that long before it hit a chord, 10%. So you remember that sort of, we're talking about that 13.5% hitting to that, getting past that early innovation into the early adopters, and then it went vertical. Cell phone, yeah.
Interesting, internet hasn't got all the way up here.
Yeah.
You'd think if 90% of people have smartphone, 90% of people would have internet as well from that smartphone.
That's interesting one, eh? There's
Might be cell phone.
No, cell phone is next to internet.
that's probably land-based broadband and dial-up, I would say. That's probably how they measured it. So, you know, smartphone's sort of the computer for everyone. That's going to go worldwide. Huge technology. Bitcoin's going to ride it. It's, you know, it's going to go worldwide on smartphones. Bitcoins. So yeah, who knows where Bitcoin is? But one of the things I wanted to really put into perspective, we get so wrapped up in the daily price and where it was, you know, 6 months ago, where it was a year ago, but no one really looks too deeply into deep time of like the last century, the history of adoption, influences. Like, look at this. This is like, oh, look, this is World War II, and World War One, and Depression years, and how that influences it. And now we're so used to things happening so quickly. But even like the smartphone, which was invented in '94, it's taken to right about now, really. I think it's 2016 they're making a prediction. It's taken that long to get to 90% penetration of the market. So, like, you know, Bitcoin is 4.48 years old. It's nowhere near 20 years old. But it's also promising because if you think of it being 20 years, if it is the technology that we're going to use for payment systems, we're 15 years away. 15 years away, but that's, I don't know, that's quite short. And when we talk about a century timescale, it's kind of like...
Is that if you're thinking linearly or accounting for the fact that innovation speeds up?
It's not linear because it's an S curve, but I think I just grabbed that number out of the air because smartphones is the last sort of technology. You know, we could probably compact that down a bit. I used to sort of think about what would Bitcoin be worth if it was, say, reached the market cap of gold, and how long would it take? And I was like, oh, well, maybe 10 years from now, and it'd be 15 years time to reach that. In these curves, it kind of makes sense, and you can sort of make your own stab at what the picture will look like. And I thought, well, shit, if that happens, then Bitcoin will be worth whatever, you know, several $100,000 and work out yourself in 10 years time. So yeah, let's move on.
VCRs are in big trouble.
Yeah, see the green? The green background shows the life cycle, life expectancy before it dies.
Is the fax machine on there? Because I think you still need a fax machine to do a money wire remotely.
Yeah.
Faxing, that would be interesting.
Yeah,
Well, we could check the next slide.
Modern banking is supporting the fax industry currently.
This is some research out of a book published in probably around 2006, it stops 2005. And it's a much more in-depth one going from 0 to, what was it? I think 0 to 90%.
100%.
90%. So these are the classic S's. Because the other one truncated the bottom bit. And, you know, go to it. Make an intelligent discussion because I've got an inflow of 4.48.
Well, you know, it's interesting to compare it to the phone, which started in 1994, but now the phone is ubiquitous, and that's likely people's first introduction to Bitcoin will be on the phone, which is already ubiquitous.
Yeah, it's riding on a lot, eh? And because the smartphones is like getting everywhere, we get a free ride.
Because you see those S's flatten out over time, and that's because technology, so like it kind of builds on itself, right? You know, the fact that
like look at this. Here's computers. That's the ceiling at this point. Well, that's the ceiling for the internet. It wants to go quicker, but computer deployment is not at that rate, you know. So yeah, but Bitcoin natively rides on smartphones, you could say, at the consumer experience level, and there's no ceiling. You know, we're at, as of next year or so, will be 90%, well, in America. But like all those smartphones in America, they become hand-me-downs into the developing nations. And I've seen it. I've been to Vanuatu where every villager had a cell phone. You ask them, oh, how long ago when you didn't have cell phones? They said, oh, 3 months ago. And some British company came in and set up these cell towers, hand-me-down technology, brought in a few tons of e-waste, which was like used cell phones, and then handed them out to everybody. And in 3 months, the whole thing was deployed. Everyone had cell phones and solar chargers and stuff. So it can happen really quick.
It's interesting how you can see the depression in that graph over those years between 1929 and World War II, because you know, a lot of the spikes that we've seen in price, a lot of the action around Bitcoin adoption has been related to macroeconomic news, right? The problems in Cyprus, and then the banking crisis is why Bitcoin exists in the first place. If we have more crises, then it will drive adoption, maybe outside of that classic S-curve. I mean, you can barely see the S-curve on that smartphone graph.
Well,
because it's getting so steep.
Well, that one went from 10 to 90, so it truncated both ends, right? But like it's kind of yes. This is like crises inhibit technology deployment. Bitcoin's the opposite. Crises, economic crises, accelerate it. It's like you're saying, what was that little, what was that furry animal video that you put up?
Oh, yeah,
it doesn't quit.
Honey badger.
Honey badger. It was like,
honey badger
doesn't quit.
Yeah.
It's like it feeds on.
It doesn't give a shit.
it's they're like a zombie. Like a zombie. It just gets more. You know? So I just thought I'd put in something a bit more related. This is deployment adoption rate of payment systems. So Bitcoin at its core is a payment system. Debit card, hits that sort of 13% around here. 95, 2010, up to almost 80%. So these are the timescales we're working in. Bitcoin, I have no clue, but I would not expect it to be like 5 years from now. We'll be like,
it's just an app, really. I mean, how fast the app spread. They go viral, people see them, and a few months later, what was that stupid thing? Flappy Birds? The majority of America had Flappy Birds probably a month after it got to that saturation point. So when the hardware is already ubiquitous, you just never tell.
We've got to combine Flappy Bird and Bitcoin.
hey, did we compare Flappy Bird with Bitcoin? I see the difficulty level increases a lot in Flappy Bird. I never played it.
Maybe we could mind playing Flappy Bird.
Yeah, but yeah, that's not really numbers this week. It's more curves. But that concludes this last number of the week. Done. Over to you, Gary.
All right. Thanks, Will. That was cool. Good stuff. Okay. All right. What's next? Actually, got a little bit of local news here. The Viceroy Bali will begin accepting Bitcoin on the 13th, which is in 2 days. This is the first, that I'm aware of, the first hotel in Bali to accept Bitcoin as payment. There's another homestay that accepts it, but this is the first hotel. It's a beautiful hotel, 5-star hotel, not too far from here. If you go over to the statue and turn left, it's up on that river gorge. They've got an incredible piece of property. You can kind of get a feel for it there. But beginning on the 13th, they've got a staff of over 113 people, some of whom will be trained to accept Bitcoin at their spa, their restaurant, and for their hotel stays. So I think that's pretty big news. I wanted to show you. Here's a few pictures of the place. It really is spectacular.
So who did the training then? Who did the training?
Well, they're in the midst of training their staff. I'm involved with them. In fact, I wanted to show you the little piece of software that we wrote so that they can accept payment. This is, if you can imagine this running on a tablet, this is what their staff will get, and they charge in IDR or in dollars, or even they may price some things in Bitcoin, although we're still talking to them about that. But their staff can enter a little description. That's supposed to be a joke. I don't. Sometimes they get facials. It feels really nice, like they rub, counterclockwise. Yeah, it's nice. So anyway, when you hit generate invoice, it does a real-time lookup of the price for IDR, for dollars, That one, the Bitcoin is easy to translate. And then you've got a QR code that represents that that amount.
Yeah,
The amount
The
here.
sum of it.
This is the sum,
I see.
right? So the person buying this thing scans the code and sends on their phone. And they get a little thank you message,
So,
right? And then the user can get a copy of the receipt emailed to them, like so. So, and this automatically sends an email to their accounting department, and yet it's all very simple for the staff to use. So I don't know how many of you people have actually used Bitcoin to buy things and or walk around spending Bitcoin. I mean, it's a really cool concept. I talk about a lot about the macroeconomics of Bitcoin, but we forget how slick it is as a payment system. And I mean, it can make things just so much nicer, smoother, easier. When you can walk around with your phone and not have to exchange into local currency, this, filthy paper money that that people will think is ridiculous in 20 years. Is it 20 years, Will?
yeah.
15 years?
Maybe
Maybe sooner.
3 months, wasn't it?
Anyway, I just thought I'd show you that, and that's happening right here in Ubud. So anyway. I think they're going to have a little gathering on the 21st. So, but keep your eyes on Bitcoins in Bali.
Do you know if they converted Bitcoins they received in fiat or?
That's not something they're doing immediately, but
Yeah.
probably something they may have to do, but they're not immediately converting.
So there's not a service in Bali which offers this service to companies to change right away from the exchange?
There are services that offer that here. Yeah.
And who wrote the code for that?
There's a really talented developer here, Andrew Golightly, that put together most of the code. And yeah, I'm surprised he's not here tonight. He usually is, but yeah, he's the one that also put together that arbitrage website that I showed you. So really cool stuff.
It's getting really good. I mean, I came here, what was it? Really, like 4 months ago, right? It was like iPhones had banned all the wallets. So at Clear Cafe, they gave me a QR code. I had to go onto a website on my laptop and send all this stuff. I can get confirmation. And now, you've got the wallet, like Red Wallet. It's fast. It's like that. It's quicker than cash.
Yeah, yeah.
It's such a...
It's getting better and better. All right. So that's the Viceroy, local big hotel. Okay, now we're gonna.
Sorry.
Bosky. Well, we've been talking about this guy quite a bit lately, and he's the devil we know. He's on his way out early 2015. I don't know if all of you are aware, we just had an election on November 2nd, and there are a lot of new administrations moving in, and it looks like this guy's going to move into private industry. In last week's show, I talked about how there's beginning to be a revolving door between the regulators and the powers that be and Bitcoin companies. In fact, the new head of the Bitcoin Foundation, John Matonis stepped down, and who took his place but the top lawyer, right? You see people like BitPay hiring big guns from Wall Street, and now Benjamin Losky is moving on to new things. It'd be interesting to see who snaps him up and who will replace him, and what their stance will be on the Bit license, because the Bit license is something they've been working on in New York City, and how friendly or unfriendly his replacement is going to be. But stay tuned. This guy Losky is moving on. So next story. This is kind of an obscure story. This is one that was posted by Peter. It's pretty interesting, a little bit esoteric, and it talks about decentralization. And this is one of the things that one of the core tenets, I would say, of Bitcoin is decentralization. And it's part of a megatrend, the megatrend of our times, I would argue, the decentralization of everything. And they actually coined this law. This is what I thought was so clever. Johnston's law. I don't know who this guy Johnston is. David Johnston? Is he? Yeah, I imagine he is. Because he came up with this law. This is something they could be quoting for quite a while, kind of like Moore's law, right? But anyway, everything that can be decentralized will be decentralized. And I love that idea because, you know, decentralization really just means cutting out the middleman. You know, it allows, you know, you and I to conduct business without a third party. That's what decentralization means. And it can happen in all kinds of things. I said it's the mega trend of our time. We pay attention to it around money, but it's happening with food, with our food supply, where people are decentralizing, getting away from Monsanto and the big productized food global networks. People are stepping away from that and growing their own food, decentralizing the food network. We are also seeing that with power, where people are coming up with alternative power sources and developing power sources that run locally and not on a central grid. So you can see it happening. Manufacturing with 3D printers. I mean, it's happening over and over and over again. So everything that can be decentralized will be decentralized. I think that's a pretty cool thing. And, you know, of course, we're trying to get away from the old model, which is centralization, which brings about things like this. Oh boy, can you see this? Why you make it bigger?
Yeah,
there we go. This is Putin's motorcade. I don't know if you can see this, but when you have something centralized, like in politics, and you've got to protect one man. If something happens to him, it's a catastrophe for global markets, for the political structure, for the political power, creating a power vacuum. So you've got to employ just this phalanx of motorcycles in order to protect this one man. It's just, you can see how fragile it is. By the way, this phalanx resembles something. I don't know if you guys can make that out. Putin likes to make a statement wherever he goes. But you can see how fragile centralized systems are. For me, when I saw this, I was like, is it really, you have to go through that much effort to prop up a centralized system because there's that single point of failure, that single man, something happens to him, you've got to, who knows what all these motorcycles cost, all these people, and what the advanced crew costs. And there's a documentary on Air Force One, and when you watch that, you see all the expense that goes into the president and the first lady going up to Camp David. It's amazing. Anyway, that's the old world, the decentralized world, the all that can be decentralized will be decentralized world. That's the world we're headed towards. So I think that's a good thing. No more phallic motorcades, though. So enjoy those while you can. Okay, next. This is a post by our very own Teddy. Teddy, if you're listening, thanks for posting this. I mentioned already that John Matonis has stepped down from the Bitcoin Foundation. You know, we talked about everything that can be decentralized will be decentralized. What is the Bitcoin Foundation? It's a centralized body, right? And they fund a lot of the core development. A lot of the core developers are paid by the Bitcoin Foundation. And as I mentioned, this guy has taken the helm. He's the head lawyer. It seems like we're heading into this time where lots of lawyers are getting involved, and lots of, well, regulators, lawyers, regulations. There's a theme, I feel like, right? But if everything that can be decentralized will be decentralized, then maybe even the Bitcoin Foundation will will not be able to escape that fate. But we shall see. Anyway, he has a good, as always, Teddy always pulls out the interesting bits, which is really cool. Like a lot of people just post a link, but Teddy will pull out the interesting part. So I'll just read it for you. I want to create a platform that is sustainable for the people who are doing that hard and unsexy, glamorous work to make this thing happen. Merck said, explaining he was trying to better serve coders who are writing unit tests and who are kind of maintaining the open source libraries. So it's kind of disconcerting that someone at the Bitcoin Foundation is influencing the code and the coders that that form the foundation of the code that makes it into a committed state. It's an open source project, so anybody can submit code, but there's actually quite a small number of people that actually approve of the code commits that make it into the core.
6 people.
Yeah.
That's kind of an argument that it centralizes. It's down. It's a meritocracy with 6 people.
Yes. Well, we shall see what happens. I mean, but arguably, yes, that is kind of breaking from the ethos of Bitcoin. There's a bit of centralization there. Anyway, he didn't ask me anything. So I don't know if you guys are all familiar with an Ask Me Anything, an AMA. He got on Reddit, introduced himself, asked me anything, and there's probably an hour or 2 worth of questions. There's probably, everything from serious questions to, silly questions. Take a look. It's on Reddit, so if you're in Indonesia, you won't be able to enjoy it. Sorry. Reddit is banned. This is a screenshot.
Cool.
There's a really good app called Holla Free or Zen Maker. It's a free Chrome extension and lets you have. You got it cool, yeah. You get to Reddit and all those.
Yeah. Okay, pushing on. All right, somebody mentioned this already. Fed shut down Silk Road 2.0, arrest San Francisco man. I think the last guy was from San Francisco. Boy, those San Franciscans, they are troublemakers, huh? They should, I think they should just.
They should launch that stuff from Bali.
Yes, I'm sure Silk Road 3.0 is in the works already. Somebody in this room even maybe. Yes, yes, there is an effort, Open Bazaar, that that will decentralize the central servers. Essentially, these guys are getting busted because they've got their code running on some server, kind of the Napster to Tor analogy. But I just think I'm just curious what you guys think about the illegality of setting up a marketplace where anybody can trade with anybody in anything. Because it's kind of good that it's not easy to find a contract killer, right? You don't want people. Well, I don't know. You don't want contract killing happening, but I don't know if it's worth stopping. Our fundamental right to assemble and our fundamental right to exchange information and ideas, which is really what you're doing when you're connecting with someone to trade with them. I mean, you can trade ideas just like you trade, a gram of cocaine. And so it's, there's a bit of a philosophical debate there on whether we should even be trying to stop these people from opening these bazaars. Arguably, if you are a drug user, this is a safer option than heading out into an alleyway with a pocket full of cash and not knowing what kind of the quality of the drugs you're getting or what you're getting, and then not knowing if someone's just going to beat you over the head and take your money. Drugs and altered states have existed since the beginning of recorded history. Man has been altering their state of mind, and it seems to me that it's a fundamental freedom that people should be able to put into their bodies what they want. We're seeing this change. There's probably people still in jail in the States for having small amounts of marijuana, and the tide is definitely changing on that. I just wonder if we'll see the same with online marketplaces. And if they do change their mind, what will happen to the Ross Ulbrichts or whoever this poor guy was who's now busted? Yeah, we'll see.
That's too bad Silk Road 2.0. I mean, they got hacked and then paid everyone back out of their own pockets. I mean, talk about a great company.
Yeah.
And can you imagine that happening if somebody else got hacked, especially in a legal place, and they actually pay everyone back? Well,
insane. What's interesting about cases like this is, libertarians often talk about things will take care of themselves. We don't have to have all these regulations and all these people watching over our shoulder. But we haven't seen the practical implementation of that until cryptocurrencies and these dark market bazaars, and the communities do police themselves, and there is kind of this these examples where the law of the community prevails.
The original Silk Road they had a section called the Armory, so you could buy grenades or anything you wanted off that, and eventually they took it down themselves because
because they had a problem with it.
Yeah.
Well, and we talked about contract killers. This is something that people try to find on open markets, and people offer these things for sale. And arguably, you don't want people hiring contract killers, but people are hiring contract killers anyway. It seems to me that you go after the crime itself.
Yeah.
Contract killers are also driving cars, but we're not banning the use of cars.
It shouldn't be illegal to connect two people.
Right.
The action is
And
illegal.
I would argue that it's even worth a few bad apples slipping through for the sake of all of our freedoms to connect.
You also get transparency. You can get a metric. Like Silk Road is 0.X% of transactions is contract killing. How would you know that otherwise?
Right.
And that gives you information for crime fighting.
Yeah.
There's an interesting, one of the only contract killing website I've ever heard of it. And what they do is they say it's basically assassination by poll. So if anyone wants to contribute, you can contribute a certain amount of money to kill Al Gore or something like that. And so you put this Bitcoin into Al Gore, and if someone predicts the day that they die, then they win the Bitcoin. And so the only way they could
up to $150,000.
The what?
Ben Bernanke.
Really?
No, probably not anymore.
Yeah,
There's no longer.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I find that really disturbing, and then it makes me of two minds on these things. But
there's a theory in agorism, which is kind of similar to anarchy, called counter-economics, which is basically the supporting any economic or social activity that's forbidden by the state can help bring about a more free society. It's interesting. Counter-economics certainly sits in the realm of counter-economics.
So it gives people incentives not to do bad stuff if you're in the public.
Yeah.
If you are going to piss off that many people, then you probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
If you're impoverishing a whole country, you're cracking policies or declaring war on someone.
mm-hmm.
And there's a public assassination market. Are you going to not think twice because you're not voted, or are you just not going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Fascinating.
Actually, it was that I posted that 2-hour Senate hearing with Andre Antonopoulos,
Mm-hmm.
whether Canada should regulate or whatever, and he was saying very articulately, hands-off approach. It's too early, it might sort itself out and sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Inhibit the technology.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you get it right.
Then or
Just one more example I'll throw in there. I think I mentioned it last week. The Moolah.io debacle with Dogecoin. A bunch of people lost money, but there is a really interesting coordinated community response to that whole thing with investigative reporting and investigative people are trying to figure out what happened, and they're even doing facial recognition on this guy because he had at least one Skype conference where people got to look at this guy, and you think about was he ugly?
Yeah,
of course.
Well,
Well, you think about you can get on Reddit and describe your situation and get a lot of help. If you also called your local police department, you can kind of, it's interesting the comparison contrast there. I had a bike stolen when I was 13, and I remember going down to the police station and really just understanding for the first time that they weren't going to send out a bunch of detectives to find my bicycle. Yes. But anyway, next item. Okay. this was posted by Charlene Spiteri. She's actually been here in our meetings, and so I allowed this post through. I administrate this Bitcoins in Bali group, and I let almost everything through, but actually I shouldn't say that. About half of the stuff I don't let through because it's like some kind of get-rich-quick scheme, or you can earn Bitcoins for free from your living room, and there's just a lot. There's a lot of things like this that are, they call it link spam. You can. Yeah. There's a lot of what I would call spam, where people try to get their advertisement up on the group, and the group's really not, to advertise really. I mean, you can, when businesses first accept Bitcoin, we throw them up there, but it's not really, a place to advertise. And a lot of those things are really kind of dodgy, but they do make it into the consciousness, and I do wonder how much traction they have. I mean, some people must get duped by these things, and so I hope Charlene will come in and talk to us about this GCR coin, and maybe it's different. I mean, I thought this was an interesting thing to kind of throw out to the group, in the interest of being fair, and not trying to censor people. If she hadn't been a part of the group, I probably would have put this in the trash, but now I'm allowing it.
Spammy.
Well, and I kind of followed some of the links here. This is the cloud mining. Cloud mining service is now a trend on this GCR blog, and if you follow that, they talk about this Bitcoin Brothers announcement, which was this German company has created this supercomputer with ASICs chips. They claim that it's worlds faster calculations for Bitcoin calculations than what's already on the market, and they're creating a cloud mining service instead of offering their hardware. But what's interesting is these guys are kind of piggybacking on this Bitcoin Brothers announcement, which really is legitimate, but they're just identifying this as a trend in cloud mining's legitimacy, right? So for me, one of the things I look for is are outfits like this trying to associate themselves with other things that are already established. And there's another example of this here with Ethereum. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it says right. Next, we have partnered with the Ethereum technology to offer not only a financial currency platform, but a platform and a programming language that makes it possible for any developer to build and publish next generation distributed applications. So that's what Ethereum does, but the language here is a little troubling for me because they're saying we partnered with Ethereum to offer not only a financial currency platform, but a programming language. So it sounds like it's a joint venture between this this GCR coin and Ethereum to offer the Ethereum platform, right? But it's just a little bit shaky ground. But like I said, I hope that Charlene will come in here and talk to us about this.
I spoke about it with Stephen the Millionaire. He reckons it's straight up a pyramid scheme. She didn't even, she couldn't even find. I think there was a dialogue on Stefan's Facebook, and she couldn't even find the Ethereum's homepage or something.
Well, she did. We did have I had a bit of an exchange with her here, and she mentioned some things. Let's see if we can take a look at this. She says, let's see. Yeah, she mentioned something. I think it was recorded, but I'll see if I can get it because I asked for some links to these things she's talking about. Anyway,
Is it the same thing as the post below? Is that what Stefan was talking about?
Oh, is this the?
Yeah,
oh, this is. Oh, scam coin warning.
Yeah,
Global coin reserve.
It's the same thing.
You may be soon.
I thought that was quite ironic.
Yeah, I did a search on cloud mining, and that came
So
up.
if you read his comments.
Anyway, I don't want to cast stones. You be the judge. I just wanted to like explain the things that kind of make my radar go off, like associating with things that are already there. Also, there's the company mission doesn't really talk much about what they do, but it does talk about becoming financially free and achieving financial freedom from your home. Our aim is to have a positive effect on people's happiness and freedom by providing the tools to leverage technology and build true wealth. It feels a little bit slimy to me, but and the third thing is this multi-level marketing. Where is it? So network marketing or multi-level marketing, those things just kind of make my radar go off.
Has anyone here tried cloud mining before? Looks like a scam to me as well, but I made a lot of money just by buying shares in different companies, cloud mining, and selling off because it's trending. A lot of people who don't know how to mine, they know that mining's made other people very rich and powerful.
Right.
They get on board. So this is trying to capture that audience. Doesn't know anything about Bitcoin really.
Right.
It's trying to rip them off, but
well, they think that they can.
That speculative punt.
Well, and when you think about let's say that you're a mad genius, and all you need is the money to buy enough mining equipment that you've invented to mine. So you do something like this, right? You put this cloud mining idea out, and a bunch of people send you enough money so that you can buy the equipment and create the coins and then share them.
CEX.io.
Right.
That's gigahash.
Right. Right.
CEX is their cloud mining, and if you go, you buy some cloud hashing shares, like for a long time you could resell them for pretty much twice, what you bought them for, like a week later. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's no reason why. Everyone likes the cloud mining.
Well, and a lot of people throw around the term Ponzi scheme, but a lot of people that participate in Ponzi schemes actually do get paid, right? Because that's how you build up enough momentum so that you can walk away at a certain point with money. You're feeding the early investors with investments from later investors, and then eventually the later investors don't get paid. The top of the pyramid disappears with all the money. So there's actually they build up a track record like, oh, this doesn't seem like it could be good, but I'm getting paid. I'm getting checks. I'm getting paid every week. This is crazy. Like I gotta instead of putting $1,000 in, I'm gonna put 10,000 in. I'll borrow some money from my neighbor. Because the more money I put in, the more I get out, and then there's this kind of weird trapdoor mechanism that plays on human psychology. And that's why Ponzi schemes just keep popping up over and over again.
So there's a few that are good, but you see the same thing happen. It bubbles up and goes down.
Not to say that this GCR is that. And I Charlene has been here, and if she can come in here and talk with us about it, and we've exchanged a few notes. I guess there's some plans for ATMs and all kinds of things in there. They want to back this coin with gold, which I guess that would be a whole nother discussion about backing cryptocurrencies with real world things, but we'll save that for another time. I think I'm going to leave it there. We're about 5 minutes over time. Any questions or any final things you guys want to add? All right. In that case, I'll just reiterate that we've got, let's see, where is it? Bitcoin 101 on December 6th. If you know anybody that doesn't know anything about Bitcoin, send them on over. It just takes a couple hours, and they leave with a wallet and a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of knowledge in their head. We've got the Bitcoin Film Festival on December 13th. So mark your calendar. It's going to be a great day. The Bitcoin ambassadors bringing 600 people, so it's going to sell out for sure. Anyway, watch Bitcoins in Bali for more details on that. And thanks for coming, everybody. Bye, everybody at home. What's that?
That was great.